Hello everyone. Alright, today we're having a cooking class, as you can see, in my kitchen. So, cooking class usually happens in the kitchen. Unless it's on the grill, but, today it's in the kitchen. So I had a request, and the request was how to make a torta. Now, a torta is Mexican cuisine, and it usually involves, at least from what I've read, it involves making something from certain types of bread, depending on what you want, like a baguette, or bread that, honestly can get kind of hard or stale, but how to repurpose that into a sandwich. So what I came up with, and the way that I've had a torta, was I got a French roll, and it's a ciabatta bread, so that's what I went with. But like I said, that's how I first had a torta, and it was a wonderful experience. But again, it's really, in a way, it's a sandwich with certain things that are involved in the sandwich, to still pay homage to the cuisine itself. But, ultimately, everything can kind of change. You can make your own torta, but I think there are certain rules that should be adhered to. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a torta based on from what I've read and the ingredients that I bought, but also adding a few things that I think are important for me, because I think it'll taste good. So like I said, first we have our roll, or our ciabatta bread, and then I have a tomato and an avocado. First things we should always do, and I have my mise en place, which again is everything in its place. I have everything that I need in order to make the sandwich. But the first things are, when you have produce like this, you really need to wash it and make sure that it's clean. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. And always wash with cold water. When I was younger, I used to wash things in hot water just because I thought it would disinfect more or something like that, and I was very incorrect. So, always wash in cold water. It helps the fruit, it helps the product itself to make sure that it doesn't spoil, and it also keeps it from cooking in itself while you're making it. But anyway, I'm going to get started. I'm going to wash this in cold water. And you want to make sure that you just kind of get all the way around. It doesn't have to take a long time. You don't need to use a whole lot of water. And then even the avocado, just because, a lot of people, they have to spray pesticides on a lot of produce. And I don't want to eat pesticides. That's something I don't want to do. Now, what I'm going to do is dry it off a little bit, because they're already going to be kind of juicy, but I don't want the bread to get soaked with it. Now, the ciabatta bread that I bought it's already, kind of soft. So if it was harder, I would still toast it, but I always, for my sandwiches, I prefer a toasted bread. So I'm going to start toasting it. make sure. So what I usually have is for here, you can see the ciabatta bread. I mean, it's still kind of stuck together. So what I do is I just kind of cut through just enough, and all you need is a butter knife. And that's the right kind of bread that you want. And you can open it up and you see, you have wonderful bread. And then I'm going to start toasting it. Again, it holds up a lot better once it's toasted, but definitely we don't want to over toast it. So this is something I'm going to be watching very closely. Make sure that my toaster is actually on toast. It does other things as well, but I want to make sure that it's just going to toast. Okay, my next step. One thing that I did find out is refried beans. That is definitely a layer that you want to have on a torta. And so I have refried beans already. And for me, with refried beans, you can definitely keep them cold, or you can heat them up. But this is kind of my spin on the whole thing. What I want to do is I'm going to heat them up, kind of soften them up, and add some extra sharp cheddar cheese to them, on top of the other cheese that's going to go in there. So, it's going to be fun. You know what I didn't do? That's just making a noise. I didn't actually turn on the toaster. I had something else plugged in because I made another dish the other day. But again, just you can put the refried beans kind of in a pan and let them heat up a bit. I usually cook them, and I have learned this, and I've learned this the hard way and the fun way, is that low and slow is always the best. You don't want to overcook anything, because the minute it's overdone, then the taste kind of goes away. But so while we're waiting for everything to toast, and I've got my beans on, I'm going to add, again, I like extra sharp, but I'm going to add my cheese to the beans. And for me, it just kind of sticks to the bun even better. And it tastes delicious. So, now, I've got my clean vegetables. I need to listen, and always listen to the sounds when you cook, because this is definitely starting to heat up. And I just want this to get to a point enough where it spreads easily. So far the ciabatta bread's looking very well. Now I need to see this part of, nobody wants to eat that when it comes to a tomato. So I need to remove it. So what I usually do is just grab the stems, and you always need to be watching for everything else that's going on. And then I'm going to carefully cut around and boom, pop this part right out, because we don't want that part. Like I said, and stir my beans. Oh. They're looking good. Actually, I think that they're perfectly cooked. So I'm going to turn this down to low just to keep it on a nice warm setting. You want to check the bread. Actually, that's pretty nicely toasted as well. But again, safety first. Let's turn this off. We're in a good place with that. Then what we want to do, and I've seen it done the wrong way before, but when it comes to an avocado. Now, this recipe calls for, and there are many different recipes for tortas, but this recipe calls for kind of making it a guacamole. Some recipes have said, just slice it and things like that. You want to make sure you get the pit out. We don't want that. And then all we do is, oh, I did forget one thing, a spoon. Then all you do is you take your avocado and you're going to scoop this out. Now, this is going to be too much for the entire sandwich. But you scoop out, as much as you can. Waste not, want not, as people say. And there you go. Now, I really like fresh avocado. And not so much the guacamole style. But what I do now is salt, just a little bit of salt, and pepper this, just to add some flavor to it, but not too much. And then for a guac, it's kind of easy. All you're going to do is you're going to just take your fork and you're just going to kind of mash everything down. I always keep this end up. You don't, not like this, but like this. And then just kind of mash things in. And then you eventually get what you want, and it's a great spread. And you got some salt and pepper in there. Scoop it around a little bit, but make sure everything's broken down. Like I said, this is going to be too much for just one sandwich. But I like avocado, and I will eat it. Like I said, I prefer fresh or sliced. But how can I not eat this? Alright, so there we go. We have a nice spread ready to go. Now what we need to do is prepare our tomato. So what I always do is I slice it. This is not the right knife to use, but these are very sharp knives. But I slice it and then you keep it halved like this, because then it just kind of holds down. And then I can make my slices, but very carefully. Oh, you're not supposed to have your thumb there. And I think half of this honestly, this could easily make 2 sandwiches. I said sandwiches. And there you go. I'm gonna do the one. This I will keep for another time, because I don't want to overload the flavors, or I don't want to have it be too much tomato. Now, what we're going to do is take our bread and start adding the fixings. Because we got lots of stuff to put on here. So the first thing it says to do is do a layer of refried beans. I'm going to take my beans and spread it out onto one part of it. And again, I made too much. I made enough for 2 sandwiches. I don't know, I really like sandwich. It sounds more fun. Well, there you go. And it's got that salt and pepper in there. It's got a lot going on in there. Because it's got the salt and pepper, it's got the cheese. And then we're going to go to the next side, and then on this side, we're going to do the avocado. Now, for part of the recipe, it asks for at the very end if you take something like, it's just not the best for my stomach, but if you take something like crema, like Mexican crema, it's so good. And you drizzle that on top after. I'm at a point in my life where that doesn't work. So, I have instead organic sour cream that is non-dairy. And that makes my life a little bit easier. So then what we do is we take some of this. I'll take the same knife that we used just to slice the bread. And I'll mix up the sour cream. And I want it to be mixed well. And then what we're going to do is just dollop that on there. To the point that you're happy with. But again, you don't want too many contrasting flavors. Because if any one flavor takes over, you don't get the yum and the crunch of everything else. So there we go. We got some sour cream. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to put a little bit more salt and pepper on. Tiny bit. Tiny bit. Because I've already salt and peppered other things. And there's already a lot of salt in the cheese I'm going to put on. But I like the spice. There we go. And then I'm just going to spread this on. It looks wonderful. So we're doing a good job so far. Now what we're going to do is take some of the guacamole that we made, and we're going to put that on there. That's a lot of guacamole. I have done a little bit too much. And we're going to spread the guacamole around on top. For me, I do that on top of the sour cream. And you have a beautiful, I don't know, like it's just, look at it, it's just gorgeous. Alright, and I want to make sure that I don't do too much else. Now what we're going to do is take some of our cheese, and I've got some fresh mozzarella. Now there's a lot of different cheeses that were said to be used, but mozzarella was definitely one of them. Now here's the thing, is mozzarella is a very thick and unctuous cheese. I do suggest you get it pre-sliced. And then we're just going to I gotta drain some of the water out of this. And then we're just going to take slices, because luckily this is pre-sliced, and put just enough on. Just enough. Let's see. Do 1, 2, 3, and that looks perfect. And then 1 for me. And wash my hands. Now what we're going to do is, first what I would do is you take your favorite meat. So I got ham and turkey. And you know, you can put any meat really that you want. Sometimes it can be something sliced like I have here, or you can cook a chicken and have that be your taste. Then I'm going to just take a couple of slices of that. This is the ham. And then I'll take a little bit of turkey as well. And add 2 more slices of that. And again, you get to, choose your whatever you want to put on. There we go. I go. This one's breaking up a little bit more than the other one did, but still works. Now the reason I usually put the meat down is because it's not as wet as, say, the tomato. So now I'll put my tomato down. Well, actually, I usually keep the end pieces and just eat them myself. You want a nice slices like this. Still connect. There we go. And just line them up how you want. That one might be a little too big. Yep, I'll go with this part. But then the very last step, depending on what your diet is, I'm going to take some jalapenos and put a couple on there. And for me, it would just be a couple. But the color really comes out. So 1, 2, 3. Actually, I don't like that one as much. 3, 4. Maybe one in the middle. A small one. But there you go. So you have a beautiful torta. You got jalapenos, you've got cheese, you've got everything in there. It's a wonderful sandwich, and that's what it is. It's a sandwich. And then we just put it together, and it's ready to go. It's a big sandwich, but it's totally worth it. So, I will let you know how it tastes. Right now, those flavors have come together. So, I'll see y'all next time. Thank you for the suggestion. This was a good class to do. And I will see you all later on. Ciao for now.